what does not work for this project? One thing that's not working that I'm aware of is delegated tasks, where I had to create accounts, passwords, receive the following, delegated tasks, backup, performance, uh, site administration. Other than that, my name's Charles, and this is my pro- final project. So, for this final project, here's a quick network map of the infrastructure that I was able to create. So, it consists of a home server that I was able to acquire a couple of years ago, but it's just a basic Dell server, Dell 2U server. I think it's an R710, I think is the correct name for it. But yeah, I just use it as my home server. Its IP address is 192.168.1.10. And then within that, installed Proxmox and was have able to host a whole bunch of virtual machines with using that as a tool. I've had a lot of success with Proxmox. It's not my first time. I started using it for a separate project a couple months ago, but or before this project, but and used started using it at work as well for a lab environment, and I've been enjoying it a lot, and especially after this, been extremely comfortable with it. But with that, I was able to set up um, two client virtual machines, two domain controller virtual machines, a primary and a secondary um, domain controller. Then I was also able to set up a whole server for as to work as a VPN, just to network traffic to a site-to-site VPN I have set up on Azure. Then I also have a root certificate authority server. That one stays powered off after I set it up and did everything I needed to do to create it as a root CA and authorize a intermediate certificate authority or subsidiary sub certificate authority. But yeah, you can see this is the network map for it. But yeah, so basically the home server will host all the different virtual machines. Client 10 is Windows 10 client, client 11 Windows 11 client, both Windows Enterprise. Um, and then yeah, and then as far as the IP addresses go, um, they're not in exactly in order because I just use it as Proxmox as a pass through to the router. The router views them as an actual computer, so it just automatically assigns them a IP address, given that it's also acting as a DHCP. I guess a DHCP server, if you could call it that. But it runs the DHCP protocol, and with that, I just kind of take whatever IP that is and set it as a static for the virtual machine itself. And within the router, I was able to set it as a static IP for that MAC address for each virtual NIC that Proxmox creates for each one of these. Um, yeah, and then I mentioned the virtual or VPN01 hosting a site-to-site VPN. That just goes basically just links it to Azure's virtual network that I was able to create. And with that, there's a virtual machine that I have running Windows 11 Enterprise, and I just named it A client as in instead of just client 11 as Azure for A, and then the IP address because the subnet for that virtual network is 10.1.0.0/24, and so this is just the IP address that it automatically gave it as a default for the default subnet, and kind of just set it as static and kept it as where it's at. Didn't really worry about it too much. Um, then from there, so I mentioned Proxmox, kind of talked a little bit about it already, but these are all the different virtual machines that I have on it at the moment. I said I used it for a past project a couple months before this one, or starting this project. I was using for that one. I created Windows Server 2022 operating system and was able to image it a bunch of times, that's uh, and that's just a leftover from it. Didn't want to delete it because I have enough storage. storage space, I just make sure not to ever start it up and keep it separate from everything else on here. Um, then, and the same thing goes for test. I believe that was a client that I tested out within that project. But then this is the Win 2019 DCO1. This is the host name, I believe, is DCO1 for my infrastructure. But just to label the different operating system that's on it, made sure to do that. This is completely separate from the what the virtual machine believes is its host name. And then the same thing goes for VPN 01. And then there's client 10, client 11, and then the secondary domain controller. And then, as you can see, there's the root CA that I had set up, and I just leave that off so that it doesn't use any resources except for some reserved hard drive space, and that's about it. But it stays off, doesn't go back on for security purposes. But yeah, you can see with that hardware for each of these, I just have them running at 4 cores, which is just 4 logical cores. So technically, it's two core, only using up 2 cores, 4 threads, and I just gave each and every single one about 64 gigs, as you can see there. And then I have it on a Seagate Barracuda, which is a secondary storage device, which, yeah, you can see here, these are the two different storage storage like hard drives that I have installed. I believe I have a 120 gig WD black that came with it. I don't know for sure. I'll show that at the end of the video. I'll go over all the physical specs and show that off. But and then I believe the Seagate Barracuda is a 2 terabyte drive that I have installed. So yeah, not really too worried about how much space each one takes up. So I think pretty sure every VM I just gave 64 gigs of storage, and made sure to check. There's a box for it for SSD emulation. Obviously it's on SSD, but I know that if it is, it'll run faster, and then even then I'll just have the SSD emulation and make sure that it's running as fast as it possibly could. There's no harm in trying to get it to go faster. But yeah, no, for each one, they're also all using the same kind of, I guess, not virtual network, but it's a virtual NIC that just passes through. I believe there's one for each one, and then it all links to a virtual switch that is linked to the actual physical NIC and gets passed through to the router. So, and with Proxmox, the one thing that I found, it's fairly intuitive. The one thing that's nice is just for Control-Alt-Delete, you can just go to the A button, gives you a bunch of different buttons you can select, Tab, Escape, Windows, Control-Alt, and then all at once, Control-Alt-Delete, and log into the server, and there you go. And this is the case for all of them. Just want to show that they're running real quick and active. Yeah, and this is Windows 10, and I probably should lower some of the display settings on this and just the generic customization settings just so it runs a little bit better. I did end up doing that for the client 11. I will boot that up later just because of the amount of resources I have. As I mentioned, I run each at about for 2 cores, 4 threads, and I only got 8 cores, 16 threads total, so I can only run about 4 at a time. And then just for performance purposes, just to ease the overhead a little bit, I run DCO2, the secondary domain controller, because it's basically idle, doesn't really do too much. I just have that set to 3 threads, or 3 cores, which is 3 threads, so like 1.5 cores, or 1.5 cores. Then with that, each system, I'll walk you through each system that I have running at the moment and some of the stuff that I have going on with it. So this is the primary domain controller, DC01. Um, this hosts most of the features that I have, like roles and services. It I don't, like I said, I don't really have enough resources to create whole separate servers, as I would for this. So it's running Active Directory domain service. It's my Active Directory domain controller, so it's running Active Directory as well as hosting DNS. It has file and storage services installed. So along with this, there's file shares on it. I believe I can show that here. Yeah, so there's two different shares for each user. They get a public and a private. But yeah, you can see all of these here. And these are just like the private ones. The public ones, I have just shared the public folders, and then they navigate to their public uh, folder that's inside of that share. And along with that, it's also operating as a Windows Server update server. Um, and then it's also hosting just a lot of basic stuff, that the other ones can't host as well. It's basically just like the hub for everything that I have set up. And then I believe, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing with this one. Yeah, otherwise I'll go through everything later. Go through in more detail on some of the services to host. The VPN01, it's basically just hosting RAS, routing and remote access server. It's fairly basic. It's not doing too much besides just linking the traffic between the primary domain, between this network and the Azure network, the virtual network that I have set up, and that site-to-site using a site-to-site VPN. And you can see that here. It's running, operating, and then network interface. Just named it CB 2025 480 VPN to Azure, just so VPN connecting to Azure. And as you can see, it's connected. So yeah, pretty basic. It's not doing too much besides that. Just routing, linking the two different networks. We'll go back to that a little bit. Windows 2019, DC02. So this is just acting as a secondary domain controller. It doesn't really do too much either way. Pretty not very resource intensive. It's on the lesser side, probably along with VPN01, but I'll keep VPN01, just give you a little bit more resources, because why not? Not really doing too much. Active Directory domain services. And then, yeah, this is just, you can see it's hosting some and see through it. Join to the Charlesbins 2025 480.com domain. And then with that, come to client 10. Alright, so this is just the client that I have running Windows 10 Enterprise. And this is just basically like what the users would use as for an example. Yeah, it's pretty basic. Nothing too crazy. Just set it up with the basic stuff of changing the name, joining it to the domain. Actually, I can show that here, just to show that it's joined to the domain and whatnot. Alright, sorry about that. Can pull that up right here. Full computer name, client 10 at Charles.Bins 2025 forward8.com domain. You see the domain there. Yeah, basically just make sure to set up the static IP address and whatnot. All the basic stuff. Change the time zone as well. Nothing too crazy. But then, just because of the resources, I'll go ahead and show you the client 11 one as well. Hopefully that doesn't take too long to start up. But actually, I'll go ahead and show that at the end. Alright, so then I just wanted to walk through the rubric real quick and kind of show where everything is, how it's set up, and kind of talk about each things and how that was setting it up with these. So, create a server infrastructure, 2016, 2019, 2019 servers, achieve the balance of rules and functions. It's went through that. You could see I showed you that I got all they're all using server 2019. Actually, let's see if I can show that here. There we go. Yeah, Windows Server 2019. 2019, 2019, 20. They're all using Windows Server 2019. Minimum OU, 2 sites for the domain. Actually, yeah, why don't I show you the Azure? So with that resource group, with all the different resources that I need to set up in order to use the site-to-site VPN in order to set that up, that one was quite the process. Very interesting. Read quite a few articles about in order to figure out how to do it. Yeah. Now this is a client 11, which I believe is running. So then we can connect to it. Let's do this. And then we will connect to it using cbins, which is a domain join account name. I made an account for myself, Charles Bins, and then username is just first initial last name. Connect. And then we're going to connect to it using the public IP address, just for network reasons and network bandwidth, because it costs. Unfortunately, it costs some money for to use network bandwidth connecting with the site-to-site VPN. So I'd rather use the public one instead, just to bypass that. Let's see if I can move that in here. Sorry, I'll pause this, and then once we get back, or once it loads, I'll unpause. I just want to unpause it. It did load up here just for a sec, but it's loading very slowly. Just wanted to show as of why, but it because I'm using just the free tier, I was able to only get a standard B1S as a size, which only gives you 1 virtual CPU and 1 gigabyte of RAM. So it's gonna operate pretty slowly, a little slow to start up and get all the delayed startup services as well. But then once that's done, I'll be able to show you a little bit more about it. All right, I believe it's loaded up enough where I can start using it a little bit. It's just gonna take a minute to operate. Okay. Oh, there we go. On second thought, I'm just gonna pause this and unpause it once I get to show you more stuff with it. Alright, it finally decided to load. But yeah, you can see the full computer name includes the domain. It's domain joined as well. Only able to work with that given that it connects through the site-to-site VPN. All right, and that just shows two different domains. Minimum OUs, we got 10 different ones there. Let's go back to the primary domain controller, and we could see those there once they load. There they are. There's all the different OUs. And then with each one, also have 10 different employees for each and every one. And then I also have one just for branch cache with the offsite client computer. And just so I can apply a GPO to allow branch cache. That's what that's there for. 100 roaming users showed that. The different shares. If we go back to what I was looking at earlier with it, you can also see the. Actually, we'll go into File and Server Resource Manager to show this. But showed you all the different shares before. Explain that. Then I also applied a quota to each and every one. Here we go. I could show that in quota management, show all the different quotas. So, because there's 10 OUs and 10 employees for each, so 100 employees, got 200 shares. One for each, or two for each, sorry. And then with each one, we've got two different quotas. One is a 2 megabyte limit, and one's a 4 megabyte limit. Is that for each one? Then, what's next? Structure, I've already gone through that. Use IPsec for the secure communications. Use IPsec as just the default for the site-to-site VPN. Then enterprise certificate services. I was able to create that by, like I mentioned before, having the root CA, but then I linked the primary domain controller and set that up with as a subsidiary or intermediate certificate authority. You can see that running here. There we go. Then I believe that, show the certificate, and then it's issued by the root CA. Okay, and then there, valid until 2026. Okay. Then with that, showed you the two different enterprise deployment, Windows 10 and 11 computers, distribute software. So for that, I was also able to do through group policy objects, and I'll be able to show that here. Sorry. And I basically just applied it to the entire domain group policy, and for all the users, made it a user policy, user configuration policy, software installation, and I apologize, I did not do that. I created a group policy object and then linked it to each one here and labeled it software install. But yeah, made it a user one, so then every time that a user logs in, then they'll get the different options for Brave browser, install GIMP, LibreOffice, Sumatra, and VLC. And then with that, say branch cache off. Showed you the branch cache briefly. How I created the OU so I could apply a GPO to it. This is that, and then this is the GPO that I have set up for it. Performance for administration. Created custom views, and then also created Windows event collector sets. I was able to do that, and I rolled that all into one. So on the primary domain controller, if I go into event viewer, I'll be able to show that I have it collecting events from other servers and then as well as that a custom event viewer that will show all of those ones that it collected along with itself. I labeled that one all server events. Um, and then if it'll load, it'll show those. I'll unpause it once it loads, I guess. Okay, there we go. So I can show you all the different events, and then I might be able to show. And then with that, we'll show the forwarded events that it's able to receive. And hopefully that'll pop up. I guess I'll wait for that to load as well, and then I'll show you that. Alrighty, so here we go. You can see the computer that it's from, those forwarded events. This is from VPN 01, a lot from VPN 01. That's just what it collected based on the computer set that I have for it. But yeah, and with that, we'll go to properties just so I can show you that it's collecting from the forwarders one as well. So with that, it's collecting the, sorry, it must be, yeah, so Windows logs forwarded events. It'll be the forwarded events. It'll also be in the all server events. So it can see everything for all of those. Then monitor server, monitor performance, monitor network performance. For this, I do apologize. There's an error with my audio recording, but I went to talk about monitor network performance and how basically I just used the resource viewer, I believe, to a resource monitor in order to view the network information. Then from here, I went to go show Windows Server Backup Server and how I set that up, and show that it was running. And here I show you just how it's up and running. It's active, but there's no computers that it detects because currently I have the group policy for it disabled to sync with all the other computers and add them. And this is because I made the mistake of so group policy has the updates just updating automatically, but with a notification saying that they're getting updated or whatever. So I have it just turned off just because I don't want to have any updates go through that I don't have or that I don't approve myself, just because I don't want to mess anything up. But if you want to go into my documentation, you can show you can see how I set it up and how it's set up correctly. But yeah, I'm pointing out that it's not enabled at the moment. The link is disabled. And then I just have it underneath the default domain, so it applies to the entire domain and all the different computers and whatnot. And next, let's here. I do apologize if I don't recall everything that I went through before. Created service level contract, I think I was talking about that, and then disaster recovery. So for disaster recovery, I believe I go and talk about how with the primary domain controller, I was able to create, I just added a second drive to it. Basically just initialized and reserved some more room within, yeah, so basically created a second drive where I could back up everything to. Yeah, there I'm showing in Proxmox, so I just added another 64 gig portion from my hard drive, the Seagate Barracuda that I have, the 2 terabyte. But yeah, I use that just basically to back up service stuff, to back up Active Directory and whatnot, the system state, and all the other different ones, so I could back up Active Directory just in case if a disgruntled employee decides to delete an OU/users, or if there's just an error, and so we can restore that and restore the Active Directory, as well as different portions. Then I guess I'm further explaining this. Oh, and then I believe at this point I start to talk about how reflect on what I could do next. What if I was to do this project over again, or if I was going to continue with the project? Security. A lot of the stuff that I have, like especially with the shares, for example, I have it set as security groups as everyone, so everyone can read it. And then obviously putting them as domain would be a lot better. Um, and then just to make it a little bit more secure, be a little bit more detailed about it. But then the private ones, I have it so I have the select individual that the share is assigned to. I have them set to have read and write permissions in order to make that function. Um and then scripts. I did a script when creating all the users, but I didn't create them with that much detail. So with phone numbers and addresses, I had to go in and add those by hand. That was not that fun. Did not enjoy that, but it took some time. And the same goes for creating the shares. It's a lot of repetitive processes that I could have used scripts for that I did not, but I would do that differently. Hopeful. Another thing is that I'm hopeful for more resources to separate the server functions. Um, if I was able to another server or add additional resources to this one, I'd be able to set this and separate the servers so it's not just DCO1 handling certificate authority, Windows Server update, all just everything all at once, and file server and stuff like that. I would separate that, make it that would also help with security in a way. Um, and then another thing is creating an image for Server 2019. I used Server 2019 for multiple instances, and I did not. Um, I installed a new one every time, and I regret that. I should have just created one, a base operating system, and had it updated, and then just cloned it for each one and sysprep it, but I did not, and that's one thing that I definitely regret. Um, Looks like I still have some time here. I guess I'm reflecting on a little bit more other stuff that I can't recall exactly, but uh, yeah, I guess more resources as well. Like oh, another thing back to security, securing I would have my backup rather than it being a local drive, kind of like how I showed earlier. I would have it to either a network drive or I would have a separate additional drive that I could plug into the server, backup, and then keep in a secure location. Um, well, I have that going right now, but I'd be able to take that drive, I should say, and then back that up into like a server or have a share from another drive or a server, something along those lines. Then I'm shutting down client 10. I was almost done. I was gonna finish up, but I'm gonna decide to show you client 11. So if you wanted to know, I showed you how in Proxmox you just right click the VM and you could click start here, or you can just navigate to console and then click on start now, and then it'll start up the VM. Um, and I go ahead and log in. And one thing I do remember is that this did take a minute, and that I talked about how it seems there's a coincidence between Windows 11 Enterprise and logging in taking a minute compared to Windows 10. So I probably could have used a different resource for the Azure one. Probably could have made a process a little bit faster for login and use and whatnot. Probably, if I really wanted to get after it for low resource usage, I could have used a Linux virtual machine instead and join that to the domain. All right, now that it's loaded in, I believe that I'm going to go ahead and show you how to, or show you the fact that it's joined and operating as it normally would, or domain joined, and it's operating how it normally should. And you can see in the bottom right, it's Windows 11 Enterprise Evaluation. And once again, I do apologize for the audio issue. It was unexpected, but I believe I'm able to cover everything that I was covering before. And here I am just logging in with the domain administrator account just to view the system properties. And here you can see the name client 11 with the domain joint account as charlesbenz2025 and yeah, that'll conclude the digital portion, I believe. Oh, actually no, I did the same mistake twice. I did this before. I might as well show you the if a brand new user logs on, that they if they were to do this, they were to if they need to install the applications, because obviously you can see they didn't install automatically. I have them set up as preferred in the group policy, so they go into control panel, click on get programs, underneath programs, and then they're able to select the program that they want to install, and then just click install, and then it'll take them through the entire install process. All right, and I believe that'll do it for the digital portion of my project. I apologize for the issue once again, the audio issue, but doing my best here, and yeah. I'll switch over to the physical part. I'll show you the physical side of my server and just all the different features of it. Alright, so this is the physical side of my server. Just a basic tour. We've got only 2 populated drive slots. From what was it? It's a 500 gig WD Black. That runs Proxmox, have that installed in there as the operating system, and then all the virtual machines are stored onto the 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda. It's a little finicky with getting back in. Good enough. All right. So, heavy USB. Use this in documentation quite a bit with moving certificates, and as well as moving around different files between the client user computer, which I used, not the one on here, but my own computer, and change it to move applications, stuff like that. But when moving the certificates, I have this USB port, first one linked to DCO1 and the second one to root CA. I obviously took that off of root CA after I before I shut it down, just for security reasons. But yeah, front power button, input output for video, basic little screen for little notifications, whether it's temperatures, all that jazz, just notifications, I guess. DVD drive. With that, it holds 2 different Xeon X5550s. Each have 4 cores, 8 threads, and almost every RAM slot's populated. But a weird thing with this one is that you can't fill every single one to get the max. This is the max configuration, which I found odd, but it's in the Dell's documentation. That's what they have it as, and the max for it is 48 gigabytes of RAM of DDR3 ECC RAM. Showed you the 2 different, as far as specs go, that's about it. Showed you the storage options I had as well, the 2 different hard drives. And then I don't have it on me, have it in a secure location. Basically at a friend's place in a safe that only I know the access code to, but I have the a backup 2.5-inch SSD that I would plug in with an adapter into here, and then backed up Proxmox to that. So then, yeah. And then some other features with it. It's got a RAID card hooked up there in the back on the riser, hooked up on the riser card here. And then on the very back, you can see just the end of it. There's a 4-port NIC switch right there, or 4.4 or 4 NIC ports right there. And then as far as the price of this, I acquired this for the original server project a couple years ago, but I only paid $150 for it, which was not a bad price. It was pretty reasonable, if anything, a little bit better than market price. I'd say that was a pro. I kind of, for what I get for $150, can't really beat it. They came with one of the drives. I did buy the other 2 terabyte, but other than that, that's the physical part. And then I guess another pro is that, yeah, it's all pre-built. Just had to basically plug and play, install a operating system, and that was about it. And then another hard drive. So those are some
pros, but I guess some cons is that guy, because it was pre-built and pre-used, previous user was quite a smoker, didn't really take care of it, and you can see some of the dust and just a residue that gets stuck to it and all over it. So it's because of that, the temperatures are. I don't know if I'm pretty sure the temperatures are fine, but because it's I think 2013 Dell R710. Yeah, Power Edge R710. I believe the year is 2013 that it came out in, and the drivers for it don't allow the fans to spin less than like 25%. So it's not quiet, so it's kind of hard to keep it running 24/7 if I can't really enjoy it. So normally keep it off when I can. But then in the power also is another downside of it. But other than that, it's been very nice for options that I get for it. Um, for the price, can't beat it. All right, and that'll conclude the physical side of the server, the video for my server here. And yeah,